Let's talk about food delivery services once more. It's been an ongoing topic on this program. Obviously, a lot of restaurants during the pandemic have had to use this to literally survive, but at what cost? They are charging enormous commissions on the food deliveries, anywhere from 10 to 30%, which for most restaurants is a losing proposition. Well, one enterprising restaurateur down in the US found a way to fight back. We've got a great guest on the line. His name is Ranjan Roy, and he is out of New York City. He's a former trader with a stint at Bank of America before jumping over to the world of journalism, working at the Financial Times. Now he runs his own newsletter called Margins out of New York City. Thanks for joining us, Ranjan.
Great to be here.
I loved this story. This kind of blew up on the internet, basically about this pizza guy down in Kansas that basically found a way to game the system using one of the delivery services down there. I believe it was Doordash, correct?
It was Doordash, yes.
Yes, I think we have that up in Canada. I think more people are probably familiar with Skip the Dishes up here. So what did this gentleman do? I believe the name of the place was AJ's New York Pizzeria.
Yes, AJ's New York Pizza. So what happened was my friend Adam, who runs these out of Kansas, he let me know that he started getting complaints at his restaurant about bad pizza deliveries, cold pizzas, the wrong pizzas were ordered. And the weird part was he did not have delivery as part of his restaurant service. So we started looking into it. It turned out there was this company, Doordash, had somehow on his Google listing added a button that said order for delivery.
On his Google listing?
On his Google listing, if you Googled AJ's NY Pizzeria in Kansas, there'd be a big blue button that said order delivery. Now, Doordash, so I cover the tech industry. I was very familiar. They just raised a $400 million round from investors like SoftBank. They're very kind of known and buzzy in that world. But I hadn't actually dealt with them directly very often. But it turned out somehow they had already listed his restaurant without any knowledge of his. And we started Googling around, and apparently this was a common complaint among restaurants where this kind of thing would happen.
Was that necessarily a bad thing for, I guess his name is AJ. Was that a bad thing for him, like another revenue stream?
Yeah, so this is exactly Doordash. It turns out they call these demand tests. The idea is they go into a new market, put all the restaurants on the website, on Google, kind of scrape their websites using automated bots, and then just start delivery. And then they can go to the restaurant a month or two later and with a check in hand and say, look how much business we brought you. So that's definitely the idea, to kind of sell restaurants before they even know what's going on.
Why was he getting complaints about cold pizzas? Were they delivering cold pizzas?
Yeah, so this is actually one of the kind of intricacies of the whole thing. Pizza seems simple. Everyone delivers it, has delivered it for decades, but you need the right bag to keep the pizza hot. A DoorDash driver, they're delivering sushi and Chinese food or whatever any restaurant needs. So they don't actually have specific equipment specialized for pizza like a Domino's or Boston Pizza, if I'm familiar with would as well. So that's how you get to cold pizza. They're not familiar with the menus either. So they might deliver the wrong pizza to the wrong address. There's just all these kind of issues that arise that the restaurant has no control over.
And so then obviously the customers are mad at AJ, the pizza.
They're calling in. His employees are taking time answering these phones. So he's mad about this to begin with. But he gets even madder when he sees a pizza that he's selling for $24 is listed at $16.
Whoa. Okay. So on his menu, it's $24. And why? Yeah. How is it listed at 16?
So he thinks this is some weird trick where DoorDash is discounting his pizzas to get more customers so they could just do something the same way Uber and all these services discount heavily. But working in media and journalism, I've seen how web scraping works. And basically you could see right on the menu, the prices were a few columns off. So everything that was $24, and again, this stuff is all automated. And I'd read about how DoorDash operates like this. And it was clear that they just, whatever script had been written using some bot had just scraped the wrong price.
So they were being listed at $16, but he charges 24.
Yes.
So, but okay, so DoorDash gets a bunch of orders for these $16 pizzas, but that's got to reconcile when that DoorDash guy goes to the restaurant to get them, right?
So this is where it got interesting. This was where, coming from a background in trading on Wall Street, there's something called arbitrage, which is this magical concept that you can basically buy and sell an asset at the same time and get a risk-free profit. And it's kind of this concept that doesn't really exist, but traders are always searching for. And instantly I look at that and I ask them, why don't you just buy those pizzas at $16 and have them pay you $24? And this seems like this would be a great idea. His initial reaction was, this is stupid because no company would ever do that. I mean, why would, like, he runs 3 locations. They watch every penny. He's a small business owner. To him, the idea that this could happen was so ridiculous that we almost did this first test kind of as a challenge to each other. Because I was trying to tell him, companies like this that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars or worth billions of dollars, they don't care about this stuff. You know, they're just trying to grow as fast as possible. So if they're losing some money in here, if that automated technology that got the wrong price, they're okay taking a little hit here and there. They're just trying to grow as fast as possible.
So people go up and they order because DoorDash has somehow stuck a button on his Google listing, and they think the pizza's listed at $16. They order it. And then the delivery guy, the DoorDash guy goes to your buddy's restaurant, but your buddy's like, hey, that's $24. And so again, I can't fathom this. There's no one's reconciling.
The DoorDash driver has a credit card from DoorDash, swipes it, and pays the $24. But clearly there is a disconnect because the original order is coming from some call center somewhere that DoorDash owns. So that person doesn't really know what's going on. And then the driver doesn't care. They're just trying to deliver the pizza. Yeah, just swipe it. They're not even looking at the receipt. So in that disconnect, that's actually where we were kind of curious, would this come up quickly? Would this happen? I mean, would someone notice this?
How many pizzas did he sell?
All right, so we did this just a few times as a test. So the first time in the post I'd written, kind of walked through the math. But basically, we're like, all right, technically, if you buy the pizza at $16, sell it at $24, he's still paying $7 or so, $6.50 in food costs and something like that. So this isn't that interesting. Like, we can donate the pizzas, which is nice, but again, this isn't a ton of money. Is this just a waste of time? So then the idea was hatched. Should we just put dough in the box? So it feels like there's pizza, but there's no ingredient cost.
Got it. Because you're sending them to your friend. He's sending it to his friend's house anyway.
Yeah, he's just sending it to his friend's house. We're just seeing if these transactions kind of go through.
Yeah.
So then we did the dough once just to see if it would work. It did. We were joking around and we're like, should we start doing empty boxes? Where could this go? But then again, both of us had to get back to normal work and try to get back to normal life.
Oh, so many questions here, Ranjan.
Shoot.
Yeah. So this is an interesting model. So DoorDash will basically go into a market and instead of waiting for restaurants to approach them, they scrape all these restaurant websites, get a listing, a DoorDash icon on their Google listing. And the idea is that after a few months, hopefully that people have been ordering through this DoorDash service, that they can go to the restaurant and kind of say, hey, you need to be on our site. What if they don't? Then they're not listed anymore?
So this is a bit unclear because back in 2015, when I was looking kind of through the history, In-N-Out Burger actually sued DoorDash. If you're familiar, In-N-Out Burger in the West Coast, the US, so huge, powerful restaurant chain was going through having the same issues and ended up suing DoorDash for this. Yet that was 2015. And somehow I couldn't find what came of that lawsuit, but somehow DoorDash has still been able to kind of continue doing this. And they even had what they called partner restaurants, which were officially listed. And then they had non-partner restaurants, which I guess are unofficially listed. But it was definitely unclear.
I could see this type of predatory practice, though, being really bad for an independent pizza guy like your friend. It's one thing to be against a corporation like In-N-Out Burger, which is much bigger, but when you're having all these weird support calls for bad pizza, bad service, or not even any care given to the type of product that's being delivered, like your friend would want to have to ensure, which is probably why he didn't offer delivery in the first place. There's got to be some ramifications to DoorDash and their competitors for this type of thing, and maybe some legislation or regulation around it.
So one would think that. I mean, that's certainly when this started happening, he was more shocked that how does Google allow this to happen? How is DoorDash allowed to do this? All these kind of things. Because again, he did very specifically choose for the decade that his places had been open not to do delivery. So in Kansas, the consumer does not associate him with Domino's. Like, he wanted to be more of a premium. You come in, dine in. We're not Domino's. We're not even pretending to be. So he was really purposeful about not doing delivery. But that's just the way. And I think it kind of represents a lot of how like Uber and companies like that grew, where the idea was just go in, kind of shock and awe, throw everything out, get as many people on the platform, get them used to it and hooked to it. And regulators just did not step in anywhere. And again, whether it's predatory or whether it's just customer acquisition, I mean, I guess these things can be debated, but that's definitely how he viewed it at the time.
Ranjan, can we just look at some of the numbers? And again, I encourage our listeners to check out your newsletter. It's called Margins. Fantastic read here. These companies are losing astronomical amounts of money. Alone here, from what I'm reading in your article, DoorDash lost $450 million off of $900 million in revenue in 2019.
Yes, I sometimes have to remind myself that means they spent around 1.3 billion to make 900 million. So again, you can understand why my friend, a small business owner with 3 locations, just did not or would not or refused to accept that this was reality.
But they're not alone. Like, they're all losing stupid money. GrubHub, again, from your newsletter, 33 million on 360 million on revenue in Q1. They're actually the best out of the bunch. Uber Eats, and Uber Eats is Uber's most profitable division, okay? Let that sink in. Uber Eats is Uber's most profitable division. Uber Eats lost 461 million in Q4 of 2019 off of revenue of 734 million.
I mean, this is kind of the bigger question that I was trying to get to in the piece, where does this make any sense? Is there kind of an end goal? Because so the most logical thing that I do understand is, if the goal is to monopolize, Uber is trying to buy GrubHub right now, basically come down to 1, maybe 2 players and then raise prices on everyone. That actually makes sense to me as a business, but that's also terrifying. So what the end kind of goal for these businesses are, because it's certainly not what it is right now, or it cannot be.
The interesting part too is, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in Canada, these fees are already quite high for the consumer. The delivery fees, the handling fees, and all that kind of stuff, not in addition to the cut that they're taking from the restaurant. So I wonder that whole idea of taking over and becoming the dominant player and then raising prices, that's going to price them out of the market. I think a lot of people will just not go that path, at least the prices I'm seeing up here when I try to use these services.
So this is actually another question I'd raise, and I really wonder about. So there's been all this venture capital and easy money flowing in the economy that kind of create a lot of these situations, but maybe the model of every restaurant should be able to deliver through the same third-party platform isn't the right one. And like, again, the idea that the nicest restaurant in New York is delivering through the same service that the other pizzeria right near me is delivering through, maybe that isn't correct. But the way they've kind of grown these businesses just through, again, shock and awe, tons of capital, losing tons of money, no one actually took the time to just step back and think, is this the correct model? And again, it's customers. Like, where do we stand on it? What are we willing to pay? If we're getting subsidized as well, because they're losing so much money, if the price is higher, are we still okay with delivery? And again, obviously the pandemic and shelter in place orders change all these kind of equations even more so.
But yeah, when you're looking at, say a fast food order, for example, $10 or $15 order, all of a sudden becomes a $20 to $25 order because you don't want to leave your house, right, to go pick it up. At some point, it makes sense from an economy of scales when you have to feed a family of 4 or 5. That delivery fee seems okay to not take you away from the family. But, again, myself, ordering for myself, I'm not comfortable paying basically the price of the meal to have it delivered.
Exactly. And I mean, you probably shouldn't be. And that's the main thing and so these services in New York have been very prevalent for the entire past decade. And there was kind of jokes where, friends who are quite wealthy would use the service called Postmates to just order one iced coffee from Starbucks and basically pay like 120% premium just to not have to leave their couch. And so there's that element of the kind of wealth luxury aspect of it. But, and again, like the toughest part about all of this right now is the current situation we're in and the fact that people cannot leave their houses and how that changes all these kind of decisions and the power that it gives to these platforms. So I think it felt like this piece was received with a lot more energy because everyone is dealing with this situation and these questions right now.
I'm still dumbfounded here. Sorry, I keep dwelling on this, but this makes absolutely no freaking sense to me. And doesn't the government need to step in sometimes on the stupidity? Like, not only are these companies, all of them are losing money hand over fist. Like, there's no business in the world. If I ran my business like that, I'd be out in like 2 months. I'd be dead. So number one, they're not making money. They're not going to make money anytime soon. They're already charging exorbitant commission fees. They're killing the restaurants. Like, that's a known fact. Like, these delivery fees are killing them because they're making like maybe 4 or 5 points of margin on food. And when they have to pay 20 or 30% commission, the logic dictates that they're losing an extreme amount of money. So these Uber
and the delivery drivers themselves are barely getting paid anything as well, or barely a living wage.
So how is this sustainable in any way? Like, how long did these idiots keep going, losing literally hundreds of millions, and it's going to get into the billions of dollars, and they're wiping out the very restaurants that they need to make this happen?
Yep. I mean, this is all I can fathom is they're just trying to get to an IPO and pass this off to public investors. And every initial investor is able to cash out at that point because DoorDash is still a private company. Uber Eats is technically part of a public company, but I mean, that with DoorDash specifically, that's all I can imagine. But the thing is, they're able to do it. They have investors. They have people buying the stock. So I feel as long as that's kind of possible, you can kind of keep this wheel rolling of just losing more and more money. But I agree, especially if every restaurant goes out of business, then what's there left? And there's no one on that side of the platform. So that's a very good question.
I hope they get into the grocery delivery business. In all the grocery stores too. We're talking with a great guest. His name is Ranjan Roy. He operates a great newsletter called Margins. Ranjan, can you tell our listeners how they can subscribe to that?
Yep. If you go to themargins.substack, substack.com, you can subscribe.
Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hit that notification button to be notified about our next show.